Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your co-host Josh, along with my good co-host Ethan. Once again, Ryan will be back with us shortly once he gets everything situated. But today we are
He's just
talking.
playing hooky at this point. Let's call it what it
Oh,
is.
he's going hooky. Yeah, he's going. He's just free right now. He's like a free little bird.
Yes, please put Boo Ryan down below.
No, he will be back with us very shortly. It's actually something that honestly, I personally been wanting him to do for a long time, so I'm very happy that he finally gets the opportunity to do so.
No, I
Um,
mean, at this point, I think he deserves to suffer in his past situation.
Ethan, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Because
So many, so many people.
I don't. Let's just say, if you know, you know. I don't wish that on anybody. But but besides that, we're going to be talking about all the rookie receivers. Well, not all, most of them. A lot of the ones that you should be looking at for our rookie month episode of wide receivers. So at this point, you've probably seen our big board. You've probably seen running backs and tight ends. You've probably seen quarterbacks. Now we're going into wide receivers here. Overall, this class is interesting, and I think it's actually the tipping point of of football at this like right now. And the reason why I say that is because I think the consensus on this draft was that there wasn't a Jamar Chase, an elite level receiver. And that's kind of what everyone felt. I think that's why all the receivers fell to 20 and below. And so now I think we're at a crossroads of teams are like, do I just grab a receiver because I know that they're good, or is there actually now a standard, or has it the saturation of the receiver position have gotten so like bogged down to where you don't need to take a you don't need to reach for an elite receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think here pretty soon, wide receivers are going to be the new running backs.
Yep.
In terms of there's going to be so many that are good, there's going to be so many in the NFL that are good, that it's just kind of insert name here.
Yeah, and I think that's why I find the 2018 season so fascinating, because you saw so many teams just shift to the run automatically. So like, I mean, New England won the Super Bowl off of running 36 different run plays. You saw the Ravens the following year commit to the Greg Roman spread run approach. Now you see like who else? Stefanski with that run scheme. The Shanahan wide zone has taken off with so many different assistants as head coaches in the league now, and then even the Jalen Hurts spread run. So, so I do think, I mean, that shift is very interesting, and I do find it to a point to where now not only is that happening to where defenses got smaller, teams want to run the ball, so there's less passing opportunities. And to now we're the point where we kind of brought up in the tight ends episode of, oh, hey, 12 personnel is really important. So that means there's only two receivers on the field instead of three. So then how important does your wide receiver three be in your flex now? And I think that's going to be probably the biggest question that needs to be answered throughout this season. But Ethan, how do you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, personnel is constantly changing. I mean, you're seeing a resurgence of a lot of like 90s and 80s scheme in terms of running the football more and just pounding it than what we had seen like in the middle of the 2000s, where it was just QBs doing it out. So, I mean, football is just another reflection of history where different patterns and trends come back up, and then that's the normal, and then something else from the history comes back up, that's the new normal, and it's just going to constantly be overtaking each other. So probably in 10 years from now we'll see more QB duels and just slinging it, than what we're going to see over these next few years. But I'm pretty ready to hop into
Yeah,
this.
let's get into the first one. So if you've seen our big board, you probably noticed that we have only one tier one wide receiver.
I'm
And
here
that
to
man,
explain.
I mean, I don't think there's much to explain, but for sure, our guys, it's Jackson Smith and Jigba, 100%.
Yeah, this is the only guy who had something elite about him. You know, he's got elite route running. He's got an elite route tree laid at. I think he's a home run for Seattle.
Yeah, I think so. Funny enough, just to give context, I usually do some pre-draft like tiers for certain players, and then based on the fit, I'll adjust like those tiers and rankings. For fantasy, I initially had Zay Flowers in it as my only tier one guy, and
Because like Ryan,
I excuse me, sir, and I had a
I'm just saying,
Njigba down.
when you hang out with Ryan more than you hang out with me, you start to become more wrong very slowly.
No, honestly, the big reason why I actually had that position since like I want to say January, like since Shrine Bowl, and the only reason why I thought it was just because he was the one that I was like, okay, it's good speed. His route running's really like it's pro ready, and then he actually goes up and gets the ball. So him and another receiver we'll talk about. When I see that out of a smaller receiver, that jumps up way up my boards. What switched me over to Njigba, uh, over Zay Flowers personally for me was that Njigba is so much more scheme versatile, in my opinion, and he will win the slot. Like if you let him just work the slot, he's going to be so much more worth the 20th pick, and like that's PPR monster territory. And so
Well,
now,
not only that, and he can also play on the outside too.
yeah, he really can. I think he's a master assassin
Yeah,
in the
he's a
slot.
team friendly player.
Yeah, he's a very scheme friendly player. And on top of that, what a lot of people, I was asking in a bunch of different forums, and I had to go back and watch, was actually how good his run blocking was. And because of that alone, I know 100% no matter where he goes, he's going to be on the field because he's not a liability run blocking either. So that means more snaps, more opportunities, and hopefully he'll get the ball more. And now that he's going to Seattle, obviously run blocking is important, but there is a clear need for a new receiver to replace Tyler Lockett afterwards.
Hmm.
And he's very good in his own right, especially now you pair him next to DK Metcalf. So overall, like that kind of propelled me to go, okay, I'm gonna flip it last minute, and then as soon as I saw the Seattle pick, that solidified it for me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think Lockett's been getting phased out for a while now, and after this draft is kind of that last. Yeah, I think he might have lost it.
Yeah. I think he's still super solid in his own right, but I think Seattle is like, look, we better get our guy now to like so we can move
Well,
without a
and yeah,
hitch.
when a player like that falls into your lap, and you know that you're going to lose Lockett here pretty soon, and he's got the talent that he has, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't have to trade up, I found it shocking, honestly. But yeah, he honestly in Jigba, we have him as a first round lock, easy. And I
Yep.
definitely think mid first to late first is probably going to be the range for Njigba, personally.
Now, I don't think he's going to be incredible. I don't think he's going to be, fantasy changing relevant. I think he's going to be good. Maybe not like last year where you had Garrett Wilson kind of be pretty relevant. He might be more of like what Drake London was last year, like
Yeah,
have a couple of spike games, be in the teens in points. Not bad, but still has some things to figure out.
and I think by the end of the year, it's going to be like week 15. You're going to be like, oh crap. And Jigba had like 12 targets and like 8 catches out of nowhere. And it's going
I
to
mean,
be
yeah,
like
it was
those games where it's just going to be super high target volumes because he's just going to be that security blanket over the middle.
Seattle's starting to become an interesting team. They got a lot of young guys coming in.
A lot of young guys, Geno Smith leading at the helm at QB. You get Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. You get on the outside.
DK is still young,
Yeah,
and now you have JSN.
yep. And then I mean, you still have Lockett this year. So no matter what, like you have a nice three-headed trio
And that
at
Lockett is the
receiver.
other reason why I think his floor is gonna be a little bit lower. Because even though I
Yeah.
think he's gonna be better than Lockett, it's gonna take time for that transition to happen, I think at least.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think year 2, year 3, I think you'll have massive catch volume. So like he'll be he's gonna have like 100 and plus catches or something like that. Like it's gonna be an absurd number, almost Michael Thomas-ish when Michael Thomas was the top receiver
Yeah.
in fantasy. I feel like that's the possibility because DK
So
has the speed to go deep, but JSN can take everything down underneath.
you know what I think the most comparable thing is for the situation this year? I think it's that relative to where these guys were drafted, where the rookies were drafted last year is going to tell you everything you need to know about points that they're going to score. So whereas you had three guys taken in the top, what was it, like 15? And that's because they were all drafted to be the guy. Garrett
Yeah.
Wilson was drafted to be the guy for the Jets. Chris Olave was drafted
You
to
had
be the
you had 4 in the top 15 now thinking about it because it was what, Drake London at 8,
Yep.
and then Garrett Wilson at
Olave was
10.
12.
Olave was
12 because the Saints traded up for him.
he 12 or was he pick 11?
I'm pretty sure it's 12. I'm gonna
Oh, no.
double check
Alright,
while you keep
actually,
going.
I think I remember, so correct me if I'm wrong. 11 was Olave, 12, the Lions traded up for Jameson Williams, 13 was Jordan Davis, 14 was Kyle Hamilton.
You are
So,
correct. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it
so
was
4
Jalen.
so 4
Yeah.
receivers in the top 12, and that was a testament to believing all 4 of
And if
those guys
JMO
are
hadn't
alphas.
gambled it away,
You were waiting on that one, weren't you?
well, I'm gonna keep
That one
bringing
was
it.
locked and loaded, wasn't
I'm
it?
gonna keep bringing it up until he plays
Ah,
football again. I think
I
that's
know.
fair.
Yeah, that's fair. He's still wide receiver 1 in my heart.
Listen, you're trying to die on this hill, and you are just gonna die.
At least I'm on the hill.
I
But
mean, good for you, but
I love that you brought
it's
that point
that's
of
where you can make the comparison to
yeah,
of like
you had
these guys drafting the 20s aren't going to be the number one guy coming up. Go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say the exact same thing you were saying. 4 in the top 12 last year, and I mean, you had then the year before was Jamar Chase and a couple other people, and then the year before that was the Jerry Judy, not Devontae Smith, the Jerry Judy, Ruggs, Justin Jefferson year, and
Yeah,
then now this year you get 4
yeah, the
in the
speed
top
control.
in 20 to 24.
So it's going to be interesting. I think the vast majority of these guys are going to get opportunity and be pretty decent. Um, don't get your hopes up. I guess would
Yeah,
be my
I definitely this is definitely like I wouldn't focus on year 1, year 2 for these players for the most part. There's actually one receiver I think that might have legit year 1 ability, but I think it's strictly on fit and opportunity.
yeah. So I mean, going on to our next one, we got Zay
Going
Flowers.
into Zay Flowers, we have him as actually another first round lock, late first in
No,
that
he's second.
range.
He's the start of our second tier.
Yep, he is the starter second of our second tier. He was
Oh, you
drafted.
mean for like actual drafting? Sorry.
Yes, you're good. You're good. I got you. So,
Thank you
um,
for the assist.
yep, you had the assist. We got it. But Zay Flowers was drafted 22nd overall to the Baltimore Ravens, and I really do
There's a
like
lot of
this fit.
opportunity.
A lot of opportunity. They will throw the ball more. Lamar is there for the next 5 years at least. And then even though you still have to deal with Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers is definitely one to focus on for the future.
But Bateman has never solidified himself. So OBJ is going to be vocal about wanting the football, and Lamar wants to play with him. So Zay's got to really go out there and make an impression. And I
Yeah.
think that's something to follow what we talked about last time with QBs and the stories of what is happening in camp, what's happening in OTAs, what's happening, right before preseason starts.
Yeah, and I think the whole dynamic, especially around this year with the this Ravens team, I think Odell, you pay him for January, so if he's gonna miss, like, 4 games and he's only gonna play 13 games, that's still going to be a lot of opportunity for Zay Flowers, at least as the other receiver. I'm expecting the Ravens to really play within 11 personnel, 12 personnel. So, unfortunately, that does mean Zay Flowers may not be on the field as much, but he is going to at least be utilized. He's
Right.
definitely not someone I would, and this is just predictions right now. He's definitely not someone I would consider to be in that mid round, like wide receiver target. Like, that's like really wishful thinking. But I think year 2, year 3, where like, that like, wherever that goes, and we'll see, like, Bateman, is in his 3rd year right now, so who knows if he gets the 5th-year option because he was a first-round pick. Zay Flowers might be coming into his own at year 3, and we'll see what happens with Odell for at least the next couple years. I think he's gonna be someone that's going to be super solid
Mhm.
year 2, year 3, and then we just don't know what the dynamic is going to be yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, as much as I wanna say home run pick because I'm a Ravens fan, I'm gonna be completely
You don't know.
like, it's I don't know. I really don't.
But the important thing is the chance and the talent is there,
Yeah,
and this is kind of the gamble that is the NFL draft, that is team building. You take someone, you like him, but you never know how they're gonna fit in until they just do.
yeah. Yeah, and especially we're, like, prognosticating for, like, the next 2 or 3 years, so it's also that's even much bigger of a guess. I say, if
Yeah, and that's
anything.
why I don't wanna come before people and be like, "This guy," like you said, "This guy's a home run, you have to take him, yada, yada, yada," and pander to all of this. Like, no, no one knows for sure. Everyone who says, "I know," is speaking out of their you know what, and we can give you the facts and then make a decision, follow the story, and if you're not someone who follows stories for your fantasy football team, you don't give a crap, just believe the hype and, take a chance on Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, and I would say I think I wanna bring up
And good
Zay
luck to
Flowers
him.
and Quentin Johnson in the same context because I actually think they're going to have the same kinda role, at least in their rookie season. So,
Well, Quentin
uh,
Johnson's a wide receiver 3, and Zay Flowers, I don't see him as wide receiver 3.
I mean, I think Zay Flowers is 2/3 at the moment, but I'm saying they're both gonna be really pretty much in the slot.
But yeah, he's a slot guy, which changes his value because depending on what they come out offensively this year, if it's a lot more distributed in the passing game in terms of not just shot plays, but letting things develop, I like him in the passing game.
Yeah, I think you will get a couple deep shots with him. He definitely feels like
Right.
one that's gonna go and get the ball. His route running's really crisp. Probably the it might it's close to even being as good as Bateman right now, and even then, like, he does display, like, a toughness that's going to get him on the field, honestly.
Yeah.
Definitely think first at least his 1st year, it's gonna be a lot of work in the slot, so he'll get replaced whether it's 11 personnel, 12 personnel. I think it's just gonna be based on, the defenses, which we should probably go into with the sch now the schedule being released. But overall, we still believe in Zay Flowers. He's a really good player. I think he went to
Drafted
a
in the
really
first
good
round of the fantasy draft.
yeah, 1st overall over Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah,
Okay. We'll
no.
go ahead and let
Don't do
politics be
that.
the 101, and you do that.
Yeah, I swear, if someone does that, I
We hate you.
I will move heaven and earth for 102. That's all I'll
Jordan
say.
Addison,
So,
Minnesota Vikings.
this is the person I said who might have the best 1st year out of the rookie receivers because I
I mean,
truly
yeah, it's like him and JSN, and maybe even Tank Dell, who's after Quentin Johnson. Little spoiler,
yeah, a little spoiler there.
little spoily.
Yep, little tease. Uh, I really I really love this fit for Jordan Addison, to be honest with you. And the biggest reason why I do is because it clearly told me that they don't want KJ Osborne in the Adam Thielen role. They want
Yeah,
KJ Osborne in the KJ
in the slot.
Osborne role,
Yeah,
which means
yes.
Jordan Addison is the new Adam Thielen, and I think just based off that opportunity, you're fantasy relevant
But
within that
that goes to his
offense.
strength too, because Jordan Addison is a possession wide receiver. That's what
Yes.
he does. So it couldn't have been a better spot. People were worried because it's like, oh, but JJ's there. It's like, well, no, they didn't draft him to be a dominant wide receiver one who exploded in college. They drafted him to take over Adam Thielen's role and do what he's comfortable with, which is, playing the possession, playing for first downs, just doing
Yeah.
these little routes for the team to set up the shot plays to JJ. And maybe he has a game, maybe he doesn't, but he'll be consistent.
Yeah, and I think something that's very interesting to think about with the dynamic of the Minnesota Vikings right now is that they're probably getting rid of Dalvin Cook just based on the little breadcrumbs we've
It's
been
happening.
seeing. Yeah,
At some point, it's
it's gonna
happening.
happen, and my guess is that they're waiting for June 1st. And with Jordan Addison, and I think what we saw last year is there are offenses that can support 2 receivers. And I think time and time that we saw with, the Minnesota Vikings is that that's very true. Like, the Dolphins had 2 top 10 receivers.
Mhm.
The Philadelphia Eagles had 2 top 10 receivers. And I think if they didn't get hurt at points, Cincinnati would have had 2 top 10 receivers, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that just because Jordan Addison's paired with Justin Jefferson, that Jordan Addison can't eat too. And I think with
Yeah.
Addison just being the more he in 1 year with Lincoln Riley has probably ran the entire route tree that you will need in a career.
Yeah.
So
Completely
I think
understand.
he's so the big thing for me is I think he's pro ready. I don't know how big the ceiling is, but the floor is going to be very appealing for consistency. And I think he's just going to be super solid. Now I don't think he'll take the roof off and be like supernova. Like that's why we put him in tier 2 compared to tier
But
1.
he'll have those
But
games.
he's going to
Just like
be
Thielen
darn
had those
good.
games, sometimes he'll just get 15 receptions. And
Yeah.
it's like, no one really saw this coming, but here we are. It happened.
Yeah, and a lot of teams will be doubling Justin Jefferson. I mean, like, you don't just take wide receiver 1 and be like, our corner got him."
Well, unless it's Trevon Diggs. Shout out to them boys.
Throw it to Justin Jefferson then." But no, actually, I love Trevon Diggs' style, but that's a
But
whole
that's
different
it.
discussion. Yeah,
But
that's it.
that's it.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
it. And Johnson before we get in trouble.
Yeah,
This is
before I ask for
our mid tier
witness
2K.
protection.
Honestly, I think you and I we both feel the same way about him in that we don't know really what to expect. Like he was a
Yeah.
monster in college at TCU. He carried that team, but can he do it at the
There
NFL level? He's on the Chargers. That doesn't look great either. So
so,
his camp film has looked good so far, though. I will give him that.
yeah,
As much
we'll
as we
give
can
him that.
brag on him, his
Like,
camp film has looked really good so
yeah,
far.
for both of us who did not like him pre-draft, and there's a lot of people who didn't. The camp film has looked pretty good. I will say that. I think let's talk about we mentioned this. Well, I personally mentioned this when the pick was made at 21. Why I had Quentin Johnson at wide receiver 9 for me. Um,
Because you're a hateful, spiteful man, but continue.
uh, I wouldn't say hateful, wouldn't say spiteful,
I wouldn't say man.
just a
Continue.
little bit. Guess that's a different discussion. And so I'm a child. No,
I'm
now,
a red boy. Anyway.
okay, let's not go there. Oh boy, if y'all know Family Guy. But let's so going on to Quentin Johnson. I personally what my biggest issues were when watching him was that the yak ability is there, like, and it looks
Oh, for
great.
sure.
And I like obviously if you were tantalized by that, I totally get it. My big issue, and it's because I've seen this translate, like, time and time again, is, like, if you really don't use your hands to catch the ball, I am going to have an issue with that. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, homie's 6'4", and I didn't really see him use his size to
I'd
his
have thought he was like
advantage.
6'1" based
Yeah,
on it.
he plays like a 5'10", 5'11" receiver. It's almost like Anthony Davis when he had the growth spurt from, like, 6'2" to 6'10", and it's just like, wow, the dude's kind of like a guard. He's kind of just figuring out how to use his size to his advantage, and I that's
And then
how I
he's
feel.
a monster.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about Quentin Johnson too, is that on tape, you do see the ability, his ability to take a slant 85 yards to
He
the house,
plays
like
he plays so low, which I
yeah.
love
Which
normally.
that's a good thing, like, that I will give him credit, like, that's good because there's a lot of taller receivers that don't play that
That
way.
play too high. Yep,
Yep,
100%.
but what I don't like is, like, him not using his wingspan to put himself in advantageous positions because the windows will be smaller in the NFL, so how many opportunities will he lose because he's not using his size to his advantage? Personally, that was my big question. Now, I know, like, Brett Coleman said it, apparently, like, I've heard it from other people that there was a technical thing and that's what they were working on during the pre-draft process, and I'm like, "Okay, we'll give it benefit of the doubt." I feel confident putting him in tier 2 because the home run ability is the best out of this class, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, he is the only one that was like, you can look at him and be like, "Yeah, he is a threat to score on every single play." Now, the other question is the fit. Did the Chargers need speed at wide receiver? 100% yes. Like, absolutely. It was
Sure.
actually the thing that was killing Justin Herbert and why he was getting smacked every time. However, he's only being used right now for the speed aspect. As far as him turning into a, like, for example, like a faster Keenan Allen, that's where I don't
That'd
know.
be
I
terrifying.
personally don't. Yeah,
That would be
I'm
terrifying.
I'm actually personally, I'm really happy he doesn't have to be the guy because they have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen there. So he's able to actually, like, take a year through and use his skill set for the yak and, speed ability, and then they let him develop, and I think you're because they throw the ball so much, uh, for the Chargers, it's only going to get him more and more reps. I think if he can fix the not using his size to his advantage or, like, using his hands more to catch the ball, this projection is gonna look really stupid. But we put him in mid tier 2 because we don't know that yet.
Yeah, pretty much, and I think with that, we can go on to the tank.
Yeah, so let's talk about our 2 low tier, tier 2, receivers, and that's Nathaniel Tank Dell, picked in the 3rd round, for the Houston
Houston.
Texans, and Jalen Hyatt, also picked in the 3rd round.
While,
Uh,
CJ Stroud said, "Go get me Tank Dell."
yeah, and, Jalen Hyatt picked to the New York Giants.
I mean, both
So
those are just great fits.
yeah,
I
I love
kinda
the
talked
fits.
about it in the last episode QBs with, the CJ Stroud being in rookie camp, Tank Dell being in rookie camp, developing that chemistry. He's already recognized his game. So, that should be a lot of interest there with him. I don't know in terms of, like, will it be out on the field or not? Um,
No, and
but,
that's the thing that's
you
gonna
know,
be very interesting with Houston is that no one really has a clue how this wide receiver room is gonna look. All we know
I
right
think bad.
now, it's Tank Dell, Nico Collins, John Mechie.
I mean, I think it'll look bad.
Yeah. I think Tank Dell, if anything, they'll probably use him out on the in the slot more, but, I mean, he is so quick and sudden that you do have to use him somehow,
Yeah.
and
And
I
then
think
with Jalen Hyatt, man, he's just once he's healthy, he's an alpha for the Giants, the first
yes,
alpha they've had since OBJ.
yes, and oh, man, he's gonna be so good.
I
I
know, I
so
love Jalen Hyatt.
so
I
the
hate seeing him go down.
Yeah, and the big thing that a lot of people were saying was they're like, "Oh, we don't know how he's gonna play in press, and, we don't know how he's gonna be like, how he's gonna handle that." Now, he did handle a very tiny amount of press, and he did pretty well. And even freshman year, Jalen Hyatt, he handled it pretty well. The thing is, the again, we talked about with Hendon Hooker was that offensive scheme is so much on using the entire width of the field that the windows were massive, and DBs couldn't just put your hand on them and hold them to for dear life because you have a giant vacated zone behind you. So that's the thing that's going to be interesting. Now, I love the fit to the Giants because I think Brian Dable and Mike Kafka did an amazing job, and they didn't have one speed threat last year. And now
Yeah.
that you add that to the mix, he's going to be a threat to score every time. He is a deep threat. It's almost Ethan, I don't know if you'll remember this name, Darius Hayward Bayish.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. And that's only going to open things up for like Saquon. That's going to open things up for um, even like Darren Waller. There's Paris Campbell. There's I'm trying to think
There's
who.
no reason for Danny Dimes to fail.
Yeah, there is absolutely no reason for Danny Dimes to fail. And I think it's cool to put them in tier two because I think they're going to be players where, man, they may not hit wide receiver one status, but they will be relevant every single week.
All right, Josh, let's talk about tier three.
So yeah, tier three, our high tier, we have Josh Downs, Jonathan Mingo, and Rasheed Rice. Our low tier right now, we have Jaden Reed, Cedric Tillman, Marvin Mims Jr., A.T. Perry, and Xavier Hutchinson. So I first want to talk about high tier three because there's at least two of these receivers that I almost put personally for me in tier two, and that's Downs and Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, I'm a big Mingo fan. Downs is going to be interesting if he can surpass Alec Pierce, but I really like both of them as well.
Personally, for me, the big discussion is whether or not um, Josh Downs, like, we'll see what happens with Michael Pittman. This is a contract year for Michael Pittman. I don't think he would leave Indianapolis, but they have three receivers there. It makes things interesting, and they're loaded up on tight end. So we'll see how that plays out. The Steichen system did use three receivers a lot, and I think the help, at least over the middle for Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs does seem the most appealing.
Yeah,
And Mingo, I think he's the do it all receiver for Carolina. To where if you need him to go deep, he can do that. If you need him to like take a jet sweep, he can do that. But if you need him to run block, he's also big enough to be in that category and like outcompete someone one on one. However, I mean that's it is going to be a brand new system with Frank Reich. There's also a lot of competition with Adam Thielen and Chark and Terrace Marshall. But I am excited if Mingo is who I think he can be very, very good for Bryce Young.
yeah, I agree. And Rasheed Rice is he's a maybe, but I like his talent more
It,
than some of the other guys in low tier
it,
three.
it's very much a maybe. I think like we have to put him in the in the category of like high tier two because he is going to be playing with Patrick Mahomes. Like I think that is a big factor in it. But for someone where you have Sky Moore, you have Marcus Valdez Scantling, you have Kadarius Tony there. The wide receiver room again is a lot of really good like wide receiver twos, but there isn't an alpha in that group, so that does give some hope to Rasheed Rice. But you saw like Sky Moore's rookie season last year, and that was a major yikes. You saw Kadarius Tony when he got there. That was kind of a yikes. So I'm really curious as to how they're going to utilize Rasheed Rice because I also don't know how much of the learning curve that's it's going to be for Rasheed Rice into the league as well.
Yeah. And then the only guy I like from low tier three is A.T. Perry on
A.T. Perry, yep. That if there's any like mid
surprise.
round shot
Yeah.
in your rookie drafts you need to take, I think it's A.T. Perry because
And
I mean
that
he yeah I
we have wide
think
receivers.
Yeah, I think that's wide receivers. Not as many as in years past to talk about, but there's still quite a few efficient and effective receiver options in this year's rookie draft. So, you can find us on all social media platforms at
Oh,
Last Place
you don't want me to
Elf.
steal the, spotlight again?
No, because I'm gonna give you the spotlight again. I almost stole your thunder. I've learned my lesson. I've
Good.
learned my lesson from last
Know your
episode.
place.
Yep, exactly. At Last Place FP, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also including YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, the entire podcast
Anchor.
works.
Shout out Anchor.
And yep, shout out to Anchor as well. And so our next episode is our fun one. We're actually going to be doing our mock draft, our first rookie draft mock draft of the year. I'm excited about that. And that's going to set us up into doing our league's actual rookie mock draft within the coming weeks. But first, Ethan, before we get to all that, what do we need to know?
You need to never forget that sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong.
Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for listening to Rookie Month and the wide receivers, and we'll see you for our rookie mock draft.
With a special guest.